the response of the Congress should be attuned to the needs of the times. Ang tinutukoy po dito, Mr. President, gumawa tayo ng batas, tapos nagkaroon ng 12 million plates na backlog para sa motor na hindi naman magawa. Paano pa ho yung batas? Ang ginangyari po sa batas, Mr. President, sinuspend yung batas dahil hindi kaya ng LTO na gumawa ng plaka. 12 million and counting. So, kasama na rin po yun, Mr. President. The law was passed.
We are amending RA 11235 or the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act.
Yes, Mr. President.
And we are amending it comprehensively. Are we overhauling the said law?
Not really, Mr. President, but the response of the Congress should be attuned to the needs of the times. Ang tinutukoy po dito, Mr. President, gumawa tayo ng batas, tapos nagkaroon ng 12 million plates na backlog para sa motor na hindi naman magawa. Paano pa ho yung batas? Ang ginangyari po sa batas, Mr. President, sinuspend yung batas dahil hindi kaya ng LTO na gumawa ng plaka. 12 million and counting. So, kasama na rin po yun, Mr. President. The law was passed, not implemented, suspended, and cannot be implemented, Mr. President, and resulted into a discriminatory treatment of riders, Mr. President. I see the presiding officer nodding his head, and perhaps if we suspend the rules, he can participate, Mr. President, because he is very knowledgeable in this subject matter. I'm referring now to Senator J.B. Ejercito.
Yes, if I may, with the indulgence of our sponsor, this is an anti-crime measure, no? Because the use of motorcycle at that time was very prevalent, no? For use for crime, yung riding in tandem. That's why this was introduced. It had good intentions, but as mentioned by the sponsor, what was not intended, what was not expected was the 10 to 12 million backlog. If we were to think of peace and order anti-crime, mas importante na meron lahat ng plate number, no? And the problem of LTO right now is the 10 million backlog at present. If we will double it, no, yung doble plaka, as mentioned by the sponsor, baka hindi na natin ma-achieve. And what worries me also, Mr. Minority Leader, is that the more motorcycles that have no plates, it is more vulnerable for use for criminal activities. So it's more important to have plate numbers than no plate numbers at all. So that's the intent of the measure.
To put in proper context, the 10 to 12 million backlog in vehicle license plates cover all kinds of vehicles, not only motorcycles.
I think for four-wheeled vehicles, about 2 million for motorcycles.
So motorcycles is 10.
10 million ng motorcycles.
Okay. And when we say 10 million plates, are these 10 million pairs or 10 million pieces? Is the backlog?
Mr. President, I think that would be, I have here a chart. Sana hindi na ito West Philippine Sea. Ayun. So,
yeah, let us look at the chart of
Mr.
Professor
President,
Tolentino again.
Yung backlog po natin ay 12,548,909 pieces. September 23 up to the present. So, ngayon po, February 15, this was done. This from the records of LTO, February 15. Nadagdagan pa ho ito, Mr. President. Yung 3 million plus po yung sa mga kotse, four-wheel, at 9 million plus doon po sa motorsiklo, Mr. President. Pieces.
Yes, and then what a coincidence, Mr. President. The updated figure is the same as the
Total.
The remaining backlog. Is that supposed to be the same?
You have a 2020 vision, Mr. President. Malapit kasi ako eh. Na Pareho din po, Mr. President.
Kaya nga, I
The
mean,
backlog,
is that supposed to be the same, Mr. President?
yes, the same.
That
Kasi
figure? Okay.
present po eh.
Sige
Present,
po.
oh.
Apa. So pieces. So what is the current rule for motorcycles? They need to have 2 plates. Tama po ba 'yon?
Correct, Mr.
So
President.
more or less i-divide natin by 2 yan. Mga 6 million motorcycle units ang affected. Tama po ba 'yan?
Can I have a 1-minute suspension? Dito po yung mga LTO.
Session suspended.
Mr. President, it would appear that this would be divisible by 2. Divisible by 2. But I have records here that the plates to be delivered would be almost the same. Almost the same, Mr. President.
No, my question, Mr. President, is more or less how many motorcycle units are affected with the backlog? Tama ba? 6 million? Not 12 million. Tama po? Around
Correct,
6
correct,
million.
Mr.
Apo.
President.
That's correct.
Correct, Mr. President.
Sige po. And then, in the sense that this is an amendatory law, maybe here again, what parts of RA 11235 are we touching or amending, Mr. President?
Will no longer be needed for the front of the motorcycle, and in lieu thereof, an RFID sticker would be required, Mr. President. That is on section 7, Mr. President.
It will pose a danger to the rider. So that's the reason that riders are wary of having a plate number in front. So in lieu of that, as mentioned by the sponsor, we will have an RFID system so that in case there are checkpoints also, less discrimination na hindi na pipila na matagal, it will be more, we will just have scanners, no, that will make it more convenient, not only for riders but also for law enforcers as well.
Plus, Mr. President, if I may add, all motorcycles are designed not to have a plate number in front, because in front you only have the headlight, the single headlight, plus the fork, the shock system. So there's no space for as far as I know, there's no space for a plate number in front.
Are there no jurisdictions which require 2 plates for motorcycles? Other countries?
From what I know, Indonesia only is what I remember.
So,
in Thailand, I think.
There is no aerodynamic objection in Indonesia and Thailand?
I think motorcycles that were sold in those countries have a special provision that for plate numbers. But the motorcycles that are sold here, that doesn't have the provision.
Okay. But my concern, Mr. President, is if you want this is a crime prevention, the mother law which we are touching is a crime prevention measure. Ang isa sa mga measures na naisip doon is to make the motorcycle license plate more readable. Okay, so most likely most likely the law provided for the specifications of that rear license plate, yung size ng plate, yung font size ng mga letters at saka numbers. Nandito, saan dito?
Mr. President, that was provided for, Mr. President, the size in specified under the implementing rules, Mr. President. So we're now referring to the dimensions, Mr. President, but let me add that in lieu of the front motorcycle plate, there would be an RFID, Mr. President, and all motorcycles, and this was supposed to be asked by Senator Padilla, all motorcycles, when you buy a motorcycle, it already has an RFID. Yes, the RFID contains the engine number, the chassis number, etc., etc. So there would be no additional expense on the part of the motorcycle rider. Nandun na po yun eh. So what will be needed, Mr. President, following the line of thinking of the good minority leader, is that there should be a scanner, a motorcycle gun scanner, I don't know the exact term, to read the RFID during checkpoints, during legal stop and frisk, etc., etc. So, yun po, Mr. President. Walang dagdag na gastos ito sa mga riders. Nakakabit na po talaga yon.
Actually, just to clarify, the RFID comes with the plate numbers. The LTO supplies the RFID, which
What-
contains, as mentioned by the sponsor, the information of the motorcycle and the engine, chassis, and the others, and also the drivers. So in later on, the driver's license, so that it will be for the use of the scanners in the future.
So the RFID mentioned in the bill and the RFID already attached to the motorcycles when sold are the same. That's already compliance with the law, with the bill, Mr. President.
Correct, Mr. President.
Okay, but are we referring to those newly sold?
Correct, Mr. President.
Paano yung mga luma po?
There would be a system in case of transfer of ownership, repossession. Marami po kasi, Mr. President, repossession. So there would be a system separate from the current LTO system wherein the new details can be placed within, so that it would appear within that RFID system, consistent with the Data Privacy Act and the new registration. So this would make it more current, Mr. President, because it would enable the LTO to really place, because just the name of the owner would be changed, but the chassis number, the engine would remain the same. So there would be a system for this, and this would likewise be consistent with our existing anti-carnapping laws, Mr. President.
Yung mga bibili ngayon ng motosiklo, may RFID na po. Yung mga pagbago. Pag ngayon yung mga bibili ng second hand o yung may-ari na ng motorsiklo ngayon na wala pang RFID, they would need to purchase that RFID, that sticker.
Mr.
If I may also,
Yes, sir.
I just again to clarify, the RFID comes with the plate numbers, the new plate numbers. It's supplied by LTO also, so kasabay na siya ng mga bagong plate numbers.
Yes, pero when this law, if this bill becomes law, aabutan po niya yung backlog eh. Therefore, 6 million yon, mag-i-issue ng one plate na lang plus RFID.
Plus RFID,
Ano po ba?
yes, it comes with it.
Samantala ngayon, ang obligasyon is 2 plates plus RFID.
That is correct.
Opo. Paano po na-cover yung mga luma na motorcycles na meron ng plates? Di ba nagre-renew na lang ng ng registration? In the renewal ba bibigyan lang sila ng RFID na sticker?
So, Mr. President, in case of subsequent sale or disposition of a motorcycle, the new owner shall report such sale or disposition to the LTO by submitting the required clearances ng HPG, deed of sale within 20 days from acquisition of ownership and transfer, cost the transfer of the same. Bibigyan na po yun ng bagong dokumento. The same is true with yung mga nabanggit ko kanina, yung may mga bumibili